Welcome to the Operations with Complex Numbers Part 2 video. In this video we are going to talk about how to add and subtract complex numbers, as well as how to multiply them. So let's get started. When you are adding or subtracting complex numbers, let's say we have the complex number of 3 plus 2i plus 5 plus 6i. When you are adding or subtracting complex numbers, all you need to remember is real plus or minus real, and imaginary plus or minus imaginary. So I have 3 plus 5, so 3 plus 5 equals 8, and then I have 2i plus 6i. So 2i plus 6i equals 8i. So our sum here is 8 plus 8i. And there we go. That's all there is to adding or subtracting complex numbers. We'll try another example, but really this is the main idea here. So now let's say we have 4 minus 6i minus negative 3 minus 8i. We'll take our real components first, so 4 minus a negative 3. 4 minus negative 3 gives us 7. And then we'll take our imaginary components, negative 6i minus negative 8i. Negative 6i minus a negative 8i is a positive 2i. And our difference here would be 7 plus 2i. And there we have it. We have successfully added or subtracted complex numbers. Now to deal with multiplying complex numbers. It is not as easy as adding or subtracting them, but as long as we remember a couple rules, we should be just fine. So here we have 2i times 3 minus 5i in parentheses. We are multiplying an imaginary number by a complex number. And when we do this, we would distribute just like we would if we were multiplying all real numbers. So I have 2i times 3 to start off with. 2i times 3. Well, you can multiply the 2 with the 3 to get 6. And then the I comes with it. So 2i times 3 becomes 6i. Now we're going to multiply 2i times negative 5i. So I have 2i times negative 5i. We can multiply the 2 times the negative 5 and get negative 10. And now we take the I and multiply it by I times I is I squared. And we might think, oh, my answer is 6i minus 10i squared. But that is not correct. The reason it is not correct is because we can't leave it as I squared. What would I squared be? If we remember that I is the same thing as the square root of negative 1, well then if I square both sides, I squared would be just equal to negative 1. So negative 10i squared is really negative 10 times negative 1, which is a positive 10. So our true product would be 10 plus 6i. And there we have successfully multiplied these complex numbers. Now what if we have a complex number times a complex number? Let's take a look at this next example. Here we have the complex number 5 minus 6i, and we're multiplying it by the complex number 4 minus 3i. For these, we're going to do the same type of multiplying we would if we were multiplying two binomials. 5 times 4, and 5 times negative 3i, and then negative 6i times 4, and negative 6i times negative 3i. We're going to have to do 4 different multiplications. So we can start with 5 times 4, which is 20, and 5 times negative 3i, which is a negative 15i. Then I have negative 6i times 4, which is negative 24i. And lastly, we have negative 6i times negative 3i, which is positive 18i squared. And as we saw from the last example, 18i squared would be 18 times negative 1, so it is really a negative 18. So what do I have here? I have 20 minus 15i minus 24i minus 18. That's what I get when I distribute my complex numbers. Now I just need to combine like terms and go from there. So 20 minus 18 is 2, and negative 15i minus 24i is a negative 39i. And that is our solution. There we go. And that's really all there is to adding or subtracting complex numbers, as well as multiplying complex numbers. In our final part to this operations with complex numbers video series, we'll talk about how to evaluate powers of I and how to divide by complex numbers. Hope to see you in those videos, and good luck.